Welcome to week 3 of this beginner month for Preppin data. So we're starting with these familiar inputs again for the non-flow card and the flow card prep air passengers, and we're unioning those together, getting rid of the table names field since that isn't very useful to us at this time. And then, just like last challenge, we need to sort out the class names, but this time they aren't headers in our dataset. Instead, they are values in these fields here. So we just need to double click in there to type over what we want to name them instead. So I've gone ahead and done that here. I thought it would be very boring to watch me type out those different values, but that's how you do it, is just by double clicking into the values and editing them. Next up, we need to make sure that we just have the first letter of the class here so that we're able to join it onto the other dataset later. And we do that via a calculation. So we click up here at the top, say create calculated field, and the calculation that we're going to create there is the left calculation. So left of that class, and we just want one character coming through, so that gives us the first letter. So starting from the start of the string and going one character to the left is what that will give us. So we get the first letter there. So for first class it just gives us an F, as we can see. Then we need to aggregate our data as per the challenge. So we will group by the first letter, the class, the date, and we will sum up the price. Now there's something special going on with the date here. As you can see, it says group, but then it also says dash month. So let's remove this from our aggregate step and then show how I got that option, because at the moment it just says group here. It doesn't say group dash month. So if I go to the drop down here for date and I group it, then I have this option at the bottom here that allows us to actually aggregate to or choose the level of detail of our date field. So there we go, we have month here, and this will allow us to aggregate to the correct month. If we chose the month start here, it would be like doing a date trunk calculation in Tableau Desktop, so it would include the month and the year. But instead we just want the month number in our output for this challenge. So we select that here, and that works beautifully for us. I only learnt about that particular way of aggregating data towards the end of last year, so I love this tool and how much there still is to learn. That hasn't always been obvious to me. And then we'll just rename this price field as sales, but we can't do that in an aggregate step, so we need to just add in another clean step to be able to edit that field name. Next up, we're connecting to this quarterly data set, so for the targets. So if we just take a look at that, then I'm just going to bring in another one of those so that we can see that what I did in this step a bit more clearly. So we know that quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3 and quarter 4 all have the same headers, so they have month, class and target. And so what we can do is we can stack them on top of one another. So we could bring in each quarter separately and then union those files together. Or we can do what's called a wildcard union. So in the input step, go to the tables tab at the top here and choose instead union multiple tables. And you can see that it's brought up this new menu for us. So it's looking in the file name, that is the name of the input for this challenge. And it's not applying any filters to the worksheet, so that means that all 4 of these worksheets, which is Q1, Q2, Q3 and Q4, are going to be stacked on top of one another as a wildcard union. But I have to hit that apply button before that happens, so I'll click that, and then you can see all 4 of those tables are included in this input step. I'm going to remove that because that's all the changes that I made here. The only additional change I made was to get rid of the file paths, since all of the tables come from the same file name, then that's not particularly useful information. And then I renamed the table names to be quarter, and I did that just like how you rename the fields in any other step, just by double clicking there so that I get that option to type in the new name. So here is that table that we're working with. We have our quarter, our target, our class and our month. Now something we might notice about our class here is that we have, say, BC for business class or FC for first class, and yet when we calculated our first letter back here, we just took the very first letter. So we need to repeat that calculation that we did earlier here as well. So literally just doing the left function of the class and taking that first character again, and since they're all distinct, then they're going to join on correctly in our join step. So to create our join, we can either from one of our steps add in a plus join and then drag that other step that we want to join to into the front of that join, and that will create a join for us. Or we can pick up one step and go up to the other step and make use of the join like that, like we did with the union in the previous challenge. We've already got that join step there, so let's take a look at it. I'm going to remove the things that I'm joining on for now to show you how you build it up from scratch. So you can see it's got a couple of suggestions down here of what our join clauses should be. So I'm going to choose those, say plus and plus, and you can see that actually the class isn't the thing that we want to be joining on, it is the first letter. So whoops, I should have paid more attention to what I was doing. So I'm joining on the first letter, the class basically. I've got 48 rows coming from the pink stream workflow, which we can see here. And I've got 48 rows coming from the green workflow stream. But what I'm getting is 576 rows, which doesn't quite seem right. And that's because we also need to make sure that we're joining on the month as well. So let's make sure that we add in that join clause in the pink data flow. It's called date because I didn't rename it after the aggregate, and in the green workflow it is called month. And now we're getting 48 rows in our join result. Phew, that is much more like it. That's what we want to be having from our output. So now we can just get rid of fields that aren't important to us, and then we can work out the difference to target. So that's just creating another calculated field and doing the sales minus the target within there. So thank you very much for watching, and I hope that you enjoyed this challenge too. See you again next week.